I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard.
Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships, because they knew death was better than bondage.
When it comes to police corruption and police racism, there are situations that reminds me of this video game that I once played called Papers, Please. And Papers, Please was set in a fictional universe where you had this fictional European country that was ruled by an authoritarian government, and your job as a border agent was to enact the whims of that authoritarian government. And that whole video game reminds me of what's happening in Phoenix, Arizona with their police department, with the rampant racism, authoritarianism, and violence that has been utilized against the citizens of Phoenix.
Damning new report from the Justice Department says the Phoenix Police Department deprives people of their rights under the Constitution and federal law.
Not to mention the unspoken racism.
DOJ officials say the investigation found systemic problems and a spate of civil rights violations, including unjustified deadly force, discrimination in traffic and other enforcement, and unlawful detention, citations of arrests.
When there is nothing left but sorrow and love of Big Brother, we shall lift you clean out of history.
During a 2021 news conference, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland and Assistant AG Kristen Clark announced a federal probe into the city of Phoenix and the Phoenix Police Department due to numerous allegations of racism, police brutality, police corruption, and flat-out unconstitutional behavior from the Phoenix Police Department.
That's potentially problematic.
And that report was once again 127 pages, and it detailed not only the corruption and the cover-ups that were occurring, where Phoenix police officers would be protected from wrongdoing by the department itself.
They're toxic.
It's in their nature, they can't help it.
But we also see retaliation against protesters and or whistleblowers, which, if you know anything about authoritarianism, you know that protesting, be it peaceful or unpeaceful, is not something a tyrant can allow.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
But the one thing that this department does allow is racism and mass brutality. But I'm actually going to show you something that doesn't involve racism, but it does show you the brutality of the Phoenix Police Department. The picture of the man that you see before you is not of a black man, but a white man named Ryan Whitaker. And you see, back in May of 2020, Phoenix police officer Jeff Cook fatally shot Ryan Whitaker for no reason when Whitaker opened his door after police knocked at his door, and he answered with a gun. Whitaker didn't show any kind of aggression against the officers, and yet Officer Jeff Cook still fatally shot Whitaker for no reason, and Jeff Cook got away with it because he wasn't even charged for taking the life of an innocent man in his own home. So the question that I gotta ask is, what's the point in having a Second Amendment if the police can just shoot you in your own home even when you've done nothing wrong?
That's called tyranny.
Which I'm sure will eventually become problematic.
And then you have this man, James J. Porter Garcia. And just like Ryan Whitaker, he was doing nothing wrong on July 3rd of 2020 when he was sitting inside of a friend's car outside of his house. And it is not illegal to sleep inside of a car, and especially if you're outside of your own home. And so when officers arrived in front of his vehicle and they woke him up, he woke up with a gun in his hand and pointed it downwards. And despite him pointing that gun downwards, he was still fatally shot. And so just like Ryan Whitaker, he lost his life for no reason, and a family got destroyed. And it's very strange that I haven't heard anything from the Gun Owners of America or the NRA, or to be honest, the Libertarian Party.
Speak up.
Where are you?
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Jerry.
At some point, we have to decide if we have a Second Amendment or not, or do we have to forfeit our Second Amendment in the presence of police officers? Because the last time that I checked, when you are in a vehicle or you are in your own home, or you just exist as a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil, you are supposed to be able to carry a firearm. And if the people who support police officers refuse to see the problem with the police officer shooting a U.S. citizen just because they were scared of a firearm, then at some point the people who support police officers are the same people who would have been wearing red coats during the American Revolutionary War, because those people are bootlickers.
We don't give a We don't give a
Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights.
Or you have the 2017 case of Muhammad Muhaymin Jr. And this guy was in the custody of the Phoenix Police Department, and before Phoenix police officers took this man's life, Muhammad Muhaymin Jr. cried out to Allah, because how could a man not cry out to God when you are meeting the devil? And what added insult to injury is that one of the officers can be heard on video responding to this man crying out for Allah, and the officer responds with, Allah, he's not gonna help you right now, which is not only disrespectful to every Muslim on planet Earth, but is every bit indicative of the reasons why people don't trust the Phoenix jackboots. And he was a black man. And the reason why I mentioned that he was a black man is because just like George Floyd, Phoenix police officers put their knees on the back of this man's neck and also the back of his head. And these were multiple officers who did this to this man. And so, as you might imagine, the human body is not made to withstand such pressures and such violence. And that is why Muhammad Muhaymin Jr. is no longer with us. And mind you, this man was unarmed.
War is peace.
It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words.
And Phoenix police is also known to target homeless people and just poor people in general, because those people are less likely to sue them or contact the Department of Justice. And if you want to understand just how bad things have gotten, well, then there is actually a statistic out there from the Department of Justice about Phoenix police that says that between January 2016 and March of 2022, more than a third of the Phoenix Police Department's misdemeanor arrests and citations were given to poor and or homeless people, but especially homeless people. And you even have one case of a near 70-year-old man who was being arrested just for sleeping on public property. And this man asked the question, quote, "Is there no end to the harassment of the homeless?" end quote. Do you remember James Garcia? Well, I said he was parked outside of his home because his friend allowed him to park out in the driveway, which does, legally speaking, makes that James Garcia's home. And this man was still executed by the Phoenix police, and he, as you can clearly see, is not the only homeless person who these tyrants have targeted.
And say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brother, ye have done it unto me.
And you know, usually you would expect that a police department would at least go easy on children, but when it comes to the Phoenix Police Department, well, they are known to be quite brutal. In fact, if you read this Associated Press report, you will see that the DOJ says they have proof that Phoenix police officers have done such things as physically assaulting a 13-year-old boy just because he left school without permission. And they use handcuffs and neck restraints because of truancy. A kid simply walked out of school, and somehow that was an excuse for grown men with guns to assault him. And it didn't end there, because they put a knee in this boy's back, a hand on his neck, and then he could be heard saying that I can't breathe. Or you have the 15-year-old Latino boy who was assaulted by Phoenix police officers, and they unlawfully searched his backpack without a warrant, and they handcuffed him without reading his Miranda rights, and then they threw him against a bus stop pole just because he asked for his mother like any child would do.
Then that's very illegal.
That's terrible.
It's problematic at best.
And if you're wondering who in the world is in charge of these people, well, the current police chief of the Phoenix Police Department is Michael Sullivan. And Michael Sullivan was also a member of the Louisville, Kentucky Metro Police Department, which is the exact same police department that was involved with Breonna Taylor. And this man was also involved with the Baltimore Police Department, which, as any black person will tell you, is exceptional with their brutality and their racism. And so it comes at no surprise when himself and other officials with the city of Phoenix became defensive in response to this DOJ report. In fact, the police union there is claiming that the report was biased, despite the fact that so many black residents in Phoenix and others have been saying the exact same thing for years and years and years about this city and its police department. And so, in conclusion, if you find yourself in Phoenix, Arizona, mind yourself around the pigs.
Pretty damn bad, huh?
But sorrow and love of Big Brother.
Problematic. This is America.
Don't catch you slipping now.
It's business as usual.
AC, AB, don't you step to ME. I run to your sundown towns, then turn them upside down. But some of your monsters like Stranger Things in the upside upside down. No surrender, no retreat. Certified soldier, got receipts. You can't walk with my feet. I pack nothing but steel for the heat. I'm not soft, I'm elite. Play my anthem on repeat. Now sing it with me. AC, AB. Hating is just weak. Get off my meat, go take a seat. Came from nothing, now I'm something. Descendant of slaves, enemy slayed. It's just how I was raised. Black power, temperature raised. Beautiful yet bloody days. That's why I can't be tamed. None of it was ever a game. AC, AB, don't step to me. Ancestral power through me. Big dog, big man, big money. Now feel the teeth. Can't be me, can't see me.